Wagwan guys, my name is Justin and welcome to today's nugget. So we're just going to look at a bit on joy and happiness and how they can relate to us and maybe what God's perspective about joy and happiness is. First, when I was checking the definitions of joy and happiness, they more or less relate to a feeling of contentment or pleasure. And the interesting thing is happiness can have joy in it. They're like almost synonyms, but not quite. So I want us to go through just some scripture. The first is Psalms 19, verse 8, and it says that the precepts of the Lord are right, giving joy to the heart. The commands of the Lord are radiant, giving light to the eyes. And Psalms chapter 34, verse 5, that says, those who look to him for help will be radiant with joy. No shadow of shame will darken their faces. How does joy and maybe happiness relate with God? I think God inherently is like our parent, yeah? What he wants for us, more or less, is happiness, a feeling of joy, contentment. God never really wants bad things for us. It's not part of him. After all, God is more or less love. So with that being said, sometimes maybe we need to look at the bigger picture. Like you're seeing me now on the camera, you've more or less zoomed in on me, but there's a bigger picture behind me, around me. I think for God, that is what the happiness and joy he intends for us. Yet, because we are limited in our mortal coils, we more or less tend to only see maybe what is around us, what is short term. But for God, I feel like he more or less wants it for us as a parenthood, the long game, more or less, what in the end would be beneficial and joyous to us. So I think also in our daily lives, how maybe we can try and put this in perspective is, I think most of the times we go through maybe small bouts of discomfort or even long ones. It depends on our situations in life. But we tend to want like a short moment of joy, and more or less sometimes we derive this kind of joy from things that are fleeting, things that are maybe not even beneficial. So it's maybe up unto us to look to God as our source of joy. After all, like just to requote Psalms chapter 19, verse 8, that the precepts of the Lord are right. And maybe this might sound cliche, like, seeking to God for joy, but God has put us in situations and in environments and among people who, through godly and good ways, we can be able to derive wholesome joy and happiness. So maybe sometimes it's up to us to like zoom out of the camera, zoom out of the frame, and just look at the bigger, better picture on how we can achieve this. So that's it from me today, and I hope we'll see you on the next one. Cheers.